Yes guys, back again with another educational style video. Today I'm going to be covering how to lose fat and stay lean. 95% of the people that I speak to, whether that's in person, in the gym, friends of friends, Instagram, LinkedIn, wherever it is, most people want to lose fat. Most people would like to be a little bit leaner, myself included. Obviously we don't want to go to the point where we're so lean that it impacts our energy levels day to day, but most people would like to be a little bit leaner and a little bit more shredded. So today I'm going to cover how to do that and key things that you need to understand, the way you need to live your life, the way you need to run your health and fitness routine in order to do that. Because a huge thing that I see at the moment, there's so many fucking coaches on Instagram especially telling you how to lose fat, how to keep it off forever. They're not even lean. They might be, 15, 16% body fat. But for a male who trains heavy and is strong in the gym, it's not hard to maintain 15% body fat. It's really, really not. I could probably eat fast food probably every single day and stay 15% body fat without much discipline. I'm talking about taking it to that next level, not photo shoot shredded, but just maintaining that lean and athletic look year round, probably between, I would say, 11 and 13%, where most people want to be. So before going into it and kind of like outlining the strategies and the key kind of understandings that you need to understand, I think it's really important that I just provide some context about myself if you are new to the channel. So who am I to actually tell you this? I think it's really important to provide some social proof. So I'm an online coach. I run an online coaching company called Athletic Aesthetic. We primarily work with corporate professionals, I would say aged between 28 and 35, some directors and owners of companies as well. And the goal for most people is to improve their performance and improve their aesthetic, improve their physique, body composition, whatever you want to call it. The majority of our clients combine strength training and endurance training. Some people like to call it hybrid training. I believe it's just the way that we should train. I think it's an amazing way to train to actually get people in shape in a sustainable way. For me personally, I stay lean year round because I have high standards for myself. I feel a lot more confident when I am lean. So I do that for my personal goals. I do it to promote my brand. Naturally, it goes without saying that I generate more inquiries from the business when I am, I would say between 10 and 12% body fat as opposed to 15%. I've noticed that in the past. I've gone obviously, like most people, through phases of being leaner, having slightly more body fat, and I've noticed a distinct correlation between business growth, business success when I am leaner. I just like being lean. It's great for self-confidence, as I say. I feel more confident and I'm definitely more productive when I'm lean as well, because what it takes to get lean, which is what I'm going to go into in a second, it naturally makes you more alert. It means you need to be regimented with your time. You need to allocate time to go and do steps, to do your cardio, to do your training. You need to focus on consuming good quality nutrition, which will make you feel more alert, less sluggish, things like that. And the style of training that I do at the moment, it's running and bodybuilding. It's the way I've trained for the last 5 years, and I love it. As I said before, some people call it hybrid training. I believe it's just the way that we should all train. So I want to actually start with mindset, which is probably what a lot of coaches would skip, I think. Yes, we can go through all the tactics and the strategies with the training, the nutrition, the cardio, the expenditure. But if your head isn't in the right place and you don't understand key things about how to do this, then you're going to struggle. You might be able to get in shape quickly, starve yourself, but you're not going to stay in shape. You're not going to stay lean year round. In my opinion, what is the point in getting lean if you can't sustain it? Naturally, you're going to go through different phases, maybe lean gaining phases, cutting phases, but most people want to stay lean year round, I think. So mindset and discipline. Mindset literally underpins everything. You will not stay lean year round without the right mindset, unless you're very lucky. Everyone knows that, that one person in the friendship group from school who's always had a six-pack, always been ripped, even when they ate shit. We're not talking about those sort of people. A lot of people probably look at me and think that I fall into that category. I do not. I work very, very hard to stay the body fat percentages that I am. And if I let my nutrition slip and if I let my standards slip with my training and my routine, I do gain body fat quite quickly because I have quite a high appetite. So you need to make conscious decisions, choices and sacrifices in order to get lean and stay lean. You actually have to identify as someone who is already lean and wants to be healthy year round. So if you are at the start of, let's say, a fat loss phase where you're needing to lose, well, you're trying to go from, let's say, 18% down to 11 or 12%, just because you don't look lean at the start of your journey, you need to actually operate and think and be like that person who is already lean. And that's something that we try and get across in our coaching program. The person who is lean does the steps, they do the strength training, they progressively overload, they make good choices with their nutrition, but it all, without sounding cliche, you have to start somewhere. So, and then if you run your life like that, you'll make all your decisions based on that. Like, I like to have a good time. I like to go out for a couple of drinks every now and again. I really like eating out, those sort of things. I'm a social guy. But every day when I do things, when I make certain decisions, I'm thinking, is this going to keep me in shape? Is it going to pull me off path? So, when I've just been to the supermarket there, what did I buy? I bought water, I bought rice, so I can have with my beef and mince and eggs. For dinner tonight, I didn't go in and buy loads of ice creams and chocolate, even though I wanted to do that. Like, obviously you can make allowances for those sort of things once or twice a week, but largely 90% of the time I would say you need to be making the right decisions in order to be that person who is lean. So mindset, I think, is probably more important than anything else, to be honest. I think it can be very effective to have a clear goal that you are working towards. Me at the moment, I don't really have a clear goal I'm working towards at the moment. I've got a marathon I'm going to prep for in a few months' time. I'm just trying to kind of maintain my lean body composition at the moment. But for someone who is new to this, so for example, if someone signed up to our coaching program, we first need to understand, do they have a performance goal? Do they have a physique goal? And that physique goal could be, okay, we're going to do a 6 to 8 week fat loss phase. So I think having those clear goals in place, it will keep you a lot more motivated if you are new to this. But this is my job. I love doing this. I'm motivated to stay lean year round. I don't need to have such regimented goals all the time. But I think if you are new to this, it can be very effective. So you need to set goals. Are you doing a fat loss phase, a shred? Are you doing a reverse diet after a shred? Or are you in a lean gaining phase? Performance, are you working towards certain numbers in the gym? Are you trying to prep for some sort of endurance race? Setting goals can be very effective. And then I think combining an aesthetic goal, like getting in shape for a holiday, maybe an event for a low-key photo shoot or a wedding or something like that, can be really, really effective if you target on to having a performance goal too. So in the past, I've done fat loss phases when I've been prepping for a half marathon, for a 10K, things like that. Whatever you're doing, make sure that you're working towards some sort of goal. It doesn't have to be a marathon, but just something that you're working towards to keep you motivated and disciplined. And these goals, they have to be challenging, but they must also be achievable. So you're not going to lose 10 kg in 4 weeks. It's not possible for most people. You need to be realistic. Training wise, so it goes without saying, if you've watched other videos about, losing body fat, training on the internet, you'll know that following a structured training program is absolutely essential. In your first, I would say 18 months of lifting, you could go to the gym, do some machines, lift some weights, throw some stuff around, and you would respond well, provided that your diet isn't horrendous. But I would say once you get into your second, third, fourth, fifth year of training, the need to be on a structured training program is essential. Like for me at the moment, if I want to make any progress with my training, I need to be following a regimented program. I wouldn't have a chance of just going into the gym and winging it and making progress. It's not going to happen. So within that structured strength training program, whether you're training 3, 4, 5, 6 days a week, whatever it is, you need to be consistently progressively overloading. So you need to be tracking your weights. You should be using either a training app where you're logging your weights and you can view them each week, or you should be writing things down in a note section or pen and paper, whatever you think is easier for you. But it's that progressive overload and going for that extra rep each week, which most people will just leave in the tank and not think is important. It really does add up in the long term, and it does make the difference, provided obviously that your nutrition is on point, your sleep, rest and recovery is on point too. So it all comes together. And the ultimate goal with the training, whatever you set out to do in terms of the amount of training, is that you don't miss sessions. So if you say you're going to follow a 4-day training split, do not go to the gym 2 or 3 times a week. Make sure you get 4 done. Yes, you might miss a session every now and again. 1 a month is not a big deal, but whenever someone comes on board with us, I want to understand how many days per week is it realistic for them to train, and then we'll build the training program off that. You need to be able to adapt this for travel, and you need to be able to adapt for busier weeks of work as well. If you really want to be in elite shape in the top 1% of the population, you need to be thinking of these sort of things. If you want to be in really, really average shape, then you can skip training when you go traveling. You can miss a couple of sessions on a busier week of work. But if you really want to take it to the next level, this has to be at the forefront of your mind. Like, I'm in Spain at the moment, traveling a little bit. The first thing I think of is there a gym in close proximity to the Airbnb? Is there a good supermarket with good quality whole foods that I can buy as well? You have to think about these sort of things. So if you're traveling for work, get your company to put you up in a hotel with a decent gym, or at least near a commercial gym nearby. Nutrition, obviously super important if you're wanting to stay lean. It's about finding the balance between not over consuming to the point where you prevent yourself from dropping body fat or you even gain body fat, but also providing yourself with, enough calories, carbohydrates and protein to actually perform well in the gym or on runs, whatever you're doing. So I think for 90% of the population, if you've got a good relationship with food and tracking calories, I would recommend doing it. It's something that I do, I would say 95% of the year, and I'll take some time off on holidays and stuff like that. But even myself, I've been tracking calories for probably 7 or 8 years now. I still find myself inaccurately tracking when I try and eat intuitively. So tracking is very, very effective, and it will get you to your goals in the quickest way possible. You obviously need to manipulate your macro split to suit your goals. So I'd recommend for males 2 to 2.2 grams of protein per kilo of body weight. I'd recommend setting a fat ceiling based off your goals and the sort of foods that you enjoy eating. I try not to go over 80 grams of fat a day, and then the rest of my calories come from carbohydrates. And because I run and lift, I will consume more carbs on days where I run to support my performance. And then it's having those lower output days on rest days or just weight training where I'll have less carbs, and that's what keeps me lean. You can use various different approaches for macro splits. That's what works for me. For most of the clients, we just get them to consume the same amount of calories each day, and it works really, really well. I don't think there's many people that can eat intuitively and hit their macro targets and stay really lean. You're either over-consuming or you're under-consuming from what I've seen in the past. You might need to accept that you need to remove certain foods from your diet. That's not because any foods are bad, but it's just about knowing yourself. Like, if I have a load of chocolate biscuits in my apartment, I'm going to eat them. So I'm going to avoid those foods and I'm not going to buy them. That doesn't mean I've got an eating disorder or a bad fucking relationship with food. It just means that I know me. I know I would eat that. There might be someone that's more disciplined that's able to have those foods in, but for me, no. And when you're in a fat loss phase, if that is what you're working towards at the moment, cutting out those sort of things, it's very effective, because if you are on lower calories, naturally expenditure is probably high, appetite might be high as well. Eating those sorts of foods, they're not whole foods, it's not going to be an efficient use of your calorie intake, and you're going to hold yourself back from fueling properly with good quality whole foods. Saying no in certain situations is really effective as well. You don't want to be a yes man or a yes girl, saying yes to every single social situation, putting yourself under a lot of pressure, having to eat out a lot, which is going to make the phase that you're in and staying lean year round very difficult. This does not mean do not socialize. I probably eat out 2 or 3 times a week, but I have discipline. I'm able to say no to 2 or 3 courses. I can literally go out and have a nice main course, and that'll do me. So again, it does come down to discipline, actually making good decisions on the day. But you don't need to be going out for food 4 or 5 times a week. You're going to find it very difficult to stay lean doing that. And obviously it's about choosing the right food options when you are out as well. And then obviously with nutrition as well, it's not just about the aesthetics, it's about fueling for the performance and the training that you're doing. And obviously there is a carryover between performance and the way you look. So if you're better fueled for your workouts, better energy from more carbs, for example, you're going to lift heavier weights, you're going to be able to build more muscle and maintain a good physique. Expenditure, massively overlooked in my opinion. So hitting a high step count goal consistently will help you stay lean, because you'll be burning more calories day to day, provided that obviously you keep all the other variables consistent. I mentioned it on an Instagram post yesterday, but I think you'll really, really struggle to stay lean year round if you're not getting over 10k steps a day, preferably closer to 12. People often turn their nose up at maintaining a high step count, and they've never actually seen the effectiveness of it and how effective it really, really can be. I remember when I got rid of my car for a month, so I was walking to work, I was personal training at the time. Steps went from about 12,000 steps a day to 15,000 consistently, and dropped almost 2 kilos. I'm not saying you're going to lose 2 kilos by increasing your steps by 3,000 a day, but it just shows the effectiveness of maintaining a high step count if everything else in your routine is controlled. You obviously need to put in the time to do this. Like, I've hit about 10,000 steps today already, but I've been walking for almost an hour. It does take time. So you need to be organized to do that alongside your training, alongside work, relationships, social life, things like that. I try and batch them with tasks. So if I've got messages or voice notes to reply to from friends, family, clients, I'll try and do that when I'm on the move. If I'm walking on the treadmill before a gym session, I'll try and do something, at least listen to a podcast, so that it's not just endless time doing nothing. And most people don't hit a high step count naturally unless you're commuting and walking to work. So you need to put in that extra time to do it and to maintain that number. Social life and events, obviously we've kind of covered this before, but you by no means need to rule these things out. I I pride myself on being able to stay lean and in great shape year round, but I still have a good social life. I'll go out for a meal at least once a week with my girlfriend, a nice meal. I'll see my friends. I'll have breakfast a few times a week as well. I have a good social life, but you need to be disciplined in those situations. Just because you're going out for food doesn't mean you need to have 3 courses. It doesn't mean that every time you go out on the weekend you need to be getting blackout drunk. You know, if you really want to make a lot of progress quickly, you might find it effective to just cut the social events considerably for a period of time and really lock in. This can be really effective at the start of someone's journey, just to give them that proof of concept so that they see a quick result, so they buy into the process, but it's probably not sustainable long term. I think most people could benefit from being a lot more selective with social events. I think a lot of people just do them for the sake of it. And it goes without saying, you know, it's easier to get lean the less you're drinking and the better that you're eating. And most people fall down on the weekend because they just overconsume. But again, I'm not saying to cut these sort of things out long term. Mentioned it before, minimizing the quantity and frequency of alcohol consumption. There's just no positive benefit to alcohol whatsoever in terms of fitness. It's literally empty calories. It will give you, it has no nutritional benefit whatsoever. It will, you know, reduce your ability to recover because it affects your sleep. It lowers testosterone, which will help. Well, high amounts of testosterone will obviously help you with fat loss and building muscle as well. So yeah, no positive benefit, but again, you can manage it if you need to. And you may have to cut some people out that aren't serving you. If people are turning their nose up at what you're doing and trying to improve yourself, it's usually because they've got a problem with themselves and not you. And in my opinion, I wouldn't waste my time hanging around those sorts of people. Sleep and recovery, lastly, really, really important. Again, often overlooked. So you need to put in the work outside of the gym and outside of your diet as well with actual sleep and recovery. I definitely recommend tracking your sleep. I find that most people, once they start tracking their sleep, they realize how little sleep they're actually getting. I had a client just started with us the other day who realized he was only sleeping for 5 hours a night, even though he was spending 6.5 hours in bed and he thought he was sleeping for 6.5 hours. So tracking it's very effective on a Garmin or a Whoop or some other sort of wearable device. It provides accountability. If I see that I've not had as good sleep one night, it forces me to try and get to bed earlier the next day, and then usually I see improvements in sleep quality there. If you're working with a coach as well, it obviously allows us to oversee and provide some obviously best practice and advice with that as well. Other, you know, little icing on the cake like saunas, deep tissue massages every now and again, doing a little bit of deep tissue release yourself, a foam roller, and obviously can be very effective too. And obviously diet will also affect your recovery as well. So please don't overlook this sort of stuff, especially when, you know, most of the people we work with and probably most people watching this video are in highly stressful jobs. It's really important to put in the extra work with the recovery because, you know, personal relationship stress in the gym, so many different stresses, and you need to be able to recover effectively from that. So getting a little bit on now, but if you found this video useful, please go and watch some of the other videos on the channel. We've got a lot of vlog style stuff, a lot more educational stuff around training, nutrition, lifestyle and things like that. And if you're interested in coaching or finding out more about what we do, there'll be a link in the caption of this video where you can apply for coaching. I'll be in touch to arrange a free consultation call. And if you want to find out a little bit more about what we do, you can head over to Instagram and type in Joe Gibson. You should be able to find me there. If not, my handle is Joe_is_fit. Tons of educational content on there and lots of client transformations too. Cheers.